Hi guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and now I want to talk about the gateway functions, which is the second and the third function. And I called it gateway because those are the two spheres where we can both live in. Let's say our inferior function, we've everywhere we talk about, the inferior function and the dominant function and so on, but actually this relationship between the second and the third one is in that way important or beneficial to us because we can actually make an impact in both worlds. So if we have an INFJ, for example, our middle functions are FE and TI. And I think I've said it before, it's not difficult, but it's easier to convince a feeler type through thinking stuff and thinking type through feeling stuff. This is what we're more not adaptive, but what we're more looking forward, or what we're where we get stuck and we want to think about it. So if you have a dominant feeler especially, and then you want to manipulate them through feelings, for example, you want that person to understand that you're a good person. And you're like, oh please, I'm not trying, to hurt you and so on. Subconsciously, if you put those emotions out, they're so in control of their own emotions. If for some reason, if they've made this decision that you're a bad person because of some of their issues, you will never convince them. But you can convince them through TI by doing things that are they're just logical. For example, if you're a good person, if you really believe that you're a good person, you're not gonna let somebody treat you bad. For example, this is a TI move, and by you, when somebody acting like that, going away and not, saying I'm not dealing with you, that is that is putting TI stuff out, logical stuff out, and people are more prone to understanding that because this is an area where they don't have so much control over, and when they're more willing to listen. And those things with the second and third function are true for everybody. The same thing if you talk to an ESTP and so on. It's much easier to convince an ESTP through being more open about your emotions and showing them that that things are hurting you and so on. And this is the good thing about having the second and the third function within us, because they're both strong. Sometimes if we say we're too unhealthy, we go into NITI mode and we're just completely about making systems in our head and so on, and it can really get bad if we don't know where to stop because it goes too deep and then we get lost and so on. But we can nevertheless use that. We can use that. We have to bring our inferior functions into consciousness, understand how we want that in our life as well. Understanding that we want TI and having an outlet for that. For example, all those INFJ videos, this entire channel is TI based. You see me, I make sure that I have a nice environment, I make sure that I speak in a nice tone of voice and so on, or that I'm, that I don't completely look like a bum, which I used to do very often. I try to do those FE things, but this is all TI, if you think about it. I found an outlet for my TI, but at the same time I have an outlet for my FE as well, and I need both. And having that kind of being okay with both of those areas and using that. For example, if we stay in the internet world, on my page or whatever, I'm all about music and creating music, which is NIFE, and creating emotions through that, and about having flowers and having all that kind of stuff. And this is how you actually use both those things to show, not only show the world who you are, but to actually use those things to create positive output, to grow as a person. Because very often we think, well, I'm just doing that, but I'm not really that. If you're just, just emotions, you feel okay, but I'm also this, I love to think, and if I'm only doing that, then what is it good for? Or you think, yeah, I'm not, you know, I want other people to understand me through my emotions. I want people to like me for, you know, when I say I understand who you are and so on, and we want people to like us for that, and we think this is who we are. But if you grow as a person, you also become this TI. This is also part of yourself. In one of the last videos I did today, I talk about that you push out and you create like a boundary, and and then you fill that space up. This is how you actually grow, because there is TI you need in your life. You really want this. This is your hidden agenda. You want to use the way you think for bettering your life, for bettering other lives, and you also want to use your FE. So when you grow and you understand that this TI is also part of who you are, and you're not gonna let gonna take somebody else's logic, but you really allow yourself to really follow your own logic, then you can really use both those things to, to make other people understand who you are. See, if we're dual seeking generally, like especially if we're in the beginning of our process, we look for ESTPs, for example, because they have a very specific logic that is exactly what we need. You know, they're SE and TI. They have SE and then they create TI. And we need exactly that. So we're looking for that TI part in others, for example, and that SE part. But unless you're like really if the other person is an ESTP who's on your page and who's doing everything that's good for you, that's perfect. But how often does that happen? You can meet an ESTP, that's not the problem. You can even meet an ESTP who's helping you, but they can't really know who you are completely. There's always this part of you that you're the only one who has control over it, who can understand it. But if you're not allowing, you're kind of like projecting that stuff onto others. So if you have an ESTP who's like, it can actually work. But if you have another type, you're still projecting those things because you're not in complete control over them. You feel like, I can't really follow my logic because you don't trust your logic. This is what they say about INFJs. INFJs have this great understanding of life, have this great understanding of what is right and wrong, but they don't trust it. And so they want other people to do that for them. And that doesn't mean that you can't do math or that you can't logically understand that, you should do this in this situation or you should do this in this situation, but to actually allow yourself to use your logic to advance your life. So, and if you project that onto other people because you don't trust it in yourself and you're so scared if this is the right way, and you project it onto people who don't have that much control of TI either, then, then it doesn't really get you anywhere. They are not sure of their TI either. It doesn't really help. And since you don't want TI to be a part of you when you're, weaker, you want to convince them through emotions, only through emotions, because you think this is who I am. And you think this is who I am, I can only convince that person with making them understand who I am and so on, and not really being logical and strict, because you want that other person to like you as that person who doesn't have TI in them and SE. And this is natural, and it happens with every type, like with those functions. For example, I told you I had this this whole thing was triggered because of my my connection or my interaction with an ENFJ. And this ENFJ was acting so irrational, so not really thinking about applying his own logic, because that is something that he was scared of. It was, an inferior function, not complete control over it. So they didn't want that part of them. So they projected it out. They acted really emotional left and right, because this is a dual seeking way, because what they want is somebody who's very TI. And this is what we do when we don't want to, do our own SE stuff and our own TI stuff. We project that outward as well. We don't want to show people that we're strong, for example. You know, we don't want to show that SE side because that would mean that we don't need their SE. So SE is always this thing, okay, nobody can really help you that much with your fourth function, but it's this combination of third and fourth and first and second. So if you're concentrating on creating your own TI, you kind of like use SE in combination. And yeah, the point is this. What I did, for example, with this ENFJ, when I just couldn't take it anymore, I thought, okay, they have to be TI. They have, you know, they have TI in them. They just don't want to use it. So I just made up my mind that they're not this angel FE thing, but they're just TI logical behind that all. And I was thinking about that specific thing and acting and addressing them in that way. And guess what? That person became very rational very quickly, because they understood that I'm not gonna give them this TI, you know, this TI thing. I think they're TI, they have TI, and then they kind of allowed that in themselves. And for us, it's the same thing. This allowing us to also be TI doesn't mean that, you know, you're lying or that you're more cold or whatever it is. It's just you grow. You integrate a part of yourself that you kind of reflected onto others. You make those inferior functions conscious and understand that this is also part of you. That it doesn't really matter if you trust your TI or not. You need it in your life. And yes, maybe because this is how it feels at that moment. You feel like, yeah, but my TI is, you know, it's not going to get me anywhere. You know, it's not really, I haven't really done anything with it, or mostly I haven't done anything with it because I would need to use my SE in combination with TI, and I'm scared to integrate that SE part. But once you do that, you understand that this TI part is also part of you and that you've had it in you the whole time. And as I said, it doesn't matter if you believe in it at that point, because you need it. Like, there's no choice. You can't just project it onto others. And then with experience, you'll understand how actually it gets you far. You'll understand that people really benefit from your TI, that people actually have a better life because you show them how you understand life. They will not live like you. They will not even take your way of thinking. It's just you using your TI to improve your own life and that of others opens people's eyes. If you're becoming whole, you're giving them a chance to become whole, because you're not allowing others to project on you and you're not projecting anything on them. And this is the kindest thing you can do. So understand that the second and the third function are both part of you, and that you can have both, and that it's okay to be cold and it's okay to be completely warm, and you're not gonna be completely you know, I don't know, this weirdo who can be and then can be, you know, I'm gonna get ahead and I do everything like this. Like, I do both of those things, and to be honest, I don't have any kind of reaction. Like, I don't even think people realize that. It was very aware for me that I changed those things and that I'm colder now in a way, but and in other ways I'm also warmer. If I allow myself to be that rational part when I need it to be, and I absorb that and think about myself, then I'm also allowing myself to be more emotional and more giving and so on, because I know there's always this TI part in me that I can rely on. Okay, so yeah, this is the video about the second and third function and having it as a gateway, because you can have both worlds. With other types, it can be the SI and NE world, or NI and SE, and understanding that you can have both and that you should especially concentrate on those two parts, and to find a way where you can apply both. They don't have to be in the same field, they don't have to be with the same people, but you need them in your life. And once you do that, it's everything. It's completing, it makes you whole, it broadens your horizon. So make sure to really look for those things and apply them, and yeah, and you will see how beneficial that is. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye.